So welcome everyone. We are starting today our webinar, our new webinar, and we only had about a week or 8 days to prepare it. But I feel like it's going to be pretty interesting webinar, especially for those who are new to the app development and game development, or those that are not new but want to learn the techniques that other new techniques to them, or adopt the techniques that previously used and overlooked over the years. So just so you guys know, as I said, we will run a few questions. So go ahead and answer those. It will be really easy. And my name is Natalie Cotier, and I'm an evangelist here in Appodeal and started as a COO, and many of you know me as a COO. That was the case for a long time. And we also have Jonas Olsson, who is the account manager here in Appodeal, and we have Gaitan Portet, who is senior account manager. So the guys work with Appodeal and work with clients, multiple, hundreds of clients every single day, trying to make their monetization, ad monetization easier, giving the advice that are not even relevant to monetization, some things like retention rates and user acquisition. So that is why we are throwing this webinar, to make sure that we can share all the advice to everyone who is not even our clients, because we really hope that there will be more people making good games and good ads at some point. We're super happy, super excited to share our knowledge. Anyway, Jonas, would you mind taking a couple of minutes and just introducing yourself and just saying a couple of words about yourself?
Sure. My name is Jonas Olsson. I'm originally from Sweden. I've been in the sales, marketing, and advertising world for about 4 to 5 years. Previously to Appodeal, I've been involved in advertising, working for different ad agencies as an account manager and media planner. Was working on larger accounts like Microsoft, Okta, and AWS. And I've been here or at Appodeal for about 6 months and love it so far.
Cool. Yeah. And Gaitan, can you take a few minutes to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Gaitan Portet. I'm from France. I moved to the US a few years ago, and I've been working in the tech industry for about 4 to 5 years as well. I worked at Salesforce before, moving to the ad mobile market and helping publisher to improve their ad strategy and monetization, and also to make sure that Appodeal's platform and product is working the best for them.
Thank you. Since everybody's sharing their country of origin, I am originally from Ukraine, but I lived in the United States for a very long time. We have also Gergana here helping us out, and thank you so much, and say hi everyone to Gergana. She's so cute and pretty there. Yeah, I'm not alone. Anyway, so we're gonna begin. Just gonna prepare my slides here for a minute. Okay, so this webinar is dedicated for their New Year's resolutions. What should you make to make your game happen, right? So the first resolution is, I will use the right metrics. And I often get asked by publishers, can you please tell me what eCPMs you offer, so I know how much I can expect to earn with my ads in my app, right? So the thing is, the publishers who form a question like this already set themselves up for a failure. Why? So listen to this, guys. I can promise you $7,000 to CPM easily and deliver it, but unless I deliver it to you along with other important metrics like fill rate, it will result in close to $0 revenue. And why this happens? So eCPM stands for effective cost per mille. Mille is Latin for 1,000. So in other words, eCPM is how much money you receive for serving 1,000 impressions. Then take the total amount of money you earned from a certain network divided by the number of ads served by this network within your app, and multiply this by 1,000, and then you will receive your eCPM. So giving me, promising you $7,000 eCPM and filling 0 ads, then take that 7,000 and multiply it on 0, and you will receive 0. So do not just follow ECPM. This is irrelevant. This is wrong. This is very important metric though, so I'm not trying to say that it's not good. So, but do follow your fill rate as well. So the fill rate calculates the rate your ad unit is filled with provided ads. An ideal fill rate is, of course, 100%, meaning that all of the ads your app requested were delivered and displayed. So if I promise you those $7,000 CPM, make sure I also guarantee you 100% fill rate. Otherwise, my word value will be equal to the revenue you receive for serving 0 impressions. So the next metric you really should worry about is, of course, ARPDAU. ARPDAU stands for average revenue per daily active user, and it shows how much money you earn from a daily active user. The metric is based on the average number of daily users or your core audience. And to calculate this ARPDAU, you divide your daily revenue by the number of daily active users. So that's quite easy. And that is, this metric is really relevant and it's very important. And the most important that it will always stay the same, no matter if you have 2 users or you will have a 2 billion users. Well, it won't stay the same. I mean, it will really always be relevant and will always be accurate. So the resolution number 2 is I will increase more revenue by attracting more users, or to be more precise, this resolution is about user acquisition. And we will have Jonas, our account manager, cover this topic. Jonas, take it away.
Sure. So publishers are increasingly looking at user acquisition not only to combat attrition, but a source of revenue, because each business has an attrition rate. Even my gym has an attrition rate where you need to account for the people that are leaving the business and fill those holes with new users. But how do you get that incremental revenue? That's through user acquisition, because user acquisition plus ad monetization should lead to a profit. And typically, you can continue spending as much as you can on user acquisition as long as it outweighs the user acquisition cost or a preset ratio that you're thinking about. Because if you have a mediation solution, your eCPM or ARPDAU should already be optimized. So then it comes down to this final formula on how you can increase ad revenue. So it seems fairly simple that if your eCPM or your ARPDAU is optimized already, the only way you can increase your ad revenue is by increasing your impressions. So how do you increase your impressions? That's if you have more eyeballs looking at your app. So that's why we think that user acquisition is so important. And usually what some of our more indie developers are asking us is how can I increase my revenue? Then sometimes that answer is focus on improving your daily active users in North America or in the European markets, since those are the top tier countries in terms of ad revenue.
Thanks, Jonas. Well, yeah, pretty straightforward, right? To get more eyeballs looking at your app, of course, please go ahead and get more users. So the next resolution is I will retain my users. It's not a secret that monetizing existing users and retaining existing users is cheaper than buying a new user, though, and then trying to get our money back with them. So it makes sense that, and I don't think that I have to convince you to retain your loyal users, but grow them. So, however, many of us still suffer with the low retention rate. So I'm going to tell you a little story. So not so long ago, I had a customer whose app you see on the screen and who suffered tremendously from the very low user retention. It was actually Gaetan and me working on this, and we looked at everything and everything looked really good. Display rate was really high. CTR was normal. Ad strategy was non-intrusive. We tried many different ad formats. There was definitely, and it still stayed low. Nothing was affecting it. So his retention was so bad that the average day one retention was below 10%. Average, that's day one retention. So 9 out of 10 users, or 9.5 out of 10 users, were just not sticking with the app on the first day. But this guy met all of the conditions for the high retention. So he had a really well-built app. He had a desirable product and well thought out user acquisition strategy. But why the users didn't stay? So what I did is I downloaded the app on both Android and iPhone. Okay. So I downloaded the app on, hold on, I'm going to just go ahead and find this slide. You're so far. Sorry, you guys. Happens sometimes. There we go. Okay. So I downloaded the app on my phone and on both of my phones, on Android and iPhone, and it just, I was really amazed how beautiful the graphics were and what a great product it was. And I thought, this is so cool. I'll be using this app all the time. So the app is, you snap a picture of a plant and it will tell you exactly what plant this is. And it will tell you like what kind of care you can provide for this plant, so they survive. And I have a green thumb that has been gone brown over the years. So my plants suffer. And this was super useful, I thought. But a few seconds later, after they downloaded the app, a loud video tutorial popped up and started showing me how to use the app. And I couldn't skip it. So I quit the app and I was really annoyed. And I had zero desire to go back and open the app again, even with my agenda of really looking at those plans. So what I did I contacted the developer and I suggested to remove the video tutorial and substitute it with less intrusive and optional tutorial like a screenshot, but always make it available for the users. And play around with interstitial ads and make them more frequent the longer the session was, but not annoy the user with the ads in the very beginning. And take care of their app store optimization. So they did all of that and they followed the advice, and here their retention rate. You can see them here on the screen. So here you see in the beginning, this is the day one retention, and you see how it goes. It stays below 10% for a while, and then after they follow my advice, their retention rate goes up tremendously, and it actually continues. So the screenshot was taken about 2 weeks after the advice was taken, and so they continued to grow. So the day 7 retention, of course, stayed really high as well. And the day 14 even was really drastically improving. So here's my advice on how to improve your retention rate. So make sure you don't delay user experience with unnecessary tutorials. Make it skippable, better yet optional, but accessible from any screen point during the first session, especially during the first session. This is very important. If your app, of course, is more complicated, then you can even create a button in the future sessions, but normally, on average, it's not necessary. Make sure the users you acquire are not misled in terms of product they receive. In other words, don't advertise don't promise the strategy game if you have a match 3 game, right? Make sure your ad monetization is not intrusive. And if you use in-app purchases, make sure you offer a way to get these power-ups and these in-app currency for free, and maybe in lesser quantities. This will actually, funnily enough, this will also result in turning those non-paying users into the paying users as well. So if you offer such format as rewarded video and introduce the little power-up, and user will get addicted on how easy the level gets, right? So they will go ahead and they will be motivated to spend $1 or $2 for the in-app purchases in the future. We've seen that happen many times. We've written use cases on this. This is proven fact. The rewarded videos really work if you have the right format of the app for it. Uh, so create seasonal events. We actually had one of those webinars that dedicated to the holidays and to the events. And these things really work. So loyal users will actually wait for those events to come back and receive some sort of perk, some sort of gift for the holiday events, or just give out like special skins and stuff. You know, it's always fun. Games are supposed to be fun. Grow the community. So if you have that large community of loyal users, put them to good use. Create a monitored blog, post updates on social media, promote events in online communities, and so on. This will not only retain the users, but also create an organic user growth for your app. I have my really good friends from Rusty Lake who actually do this, and there are only 2 people. So you can't say, oh, I don't have enough people, because you can do it if you want. So the studio has only 2 people doing it, and they both, you know, they develop the game, they both come up with the script, with everything from scratch. And they also grow their online community, and their followers are huge. And they develop and release new games regularly. And all of these old users that follow their pages know about these things from Instagram, Facebook, blogs, and they download. And all of those games are premium, and they keep downloading, and they've been really successful. So next one is use analytics. Analyze, and constantly measure how your actions affected your retention rate. Sometimes sending non-frequent notifications is a really good idea, and even loyal users sometimes get caught up with life, you know, and forget about their favorite game or their favorite app, and to what are their plans. So sometimes that could be a good idea. Just don't do it every day. My notifications are muted for those apps that send notifications every day. And last but not least is offer in-app sales on a regular basis. Those are really, really good. And if you have like a loot boxes that you offer for sale, just, you know, offer them for, just dedicate them to the event. I don't know, like a friendship date or something, you know, like the International Day of Friendship sale or something like that. And it will also boost your in-app purchase. Well, it will also, of course, boost your in-app purchase revenue, but it will also retain the users because they will be waiting for that friendship sale, and they will come back to your app and they will start using it again. So next resolution is do consider the new ad formats. And Gaetan, the senior account manager, will take it from here. So Gaetan, please go ahead.
Sure. So yeah, something that I noticed with all my clients is that not all, I wouldn't say all, but like most of the best ad strategy that I see and that have apps that have like great revenue coming from ads use more than one ad type. I think it's really important. It's really hard to have a really big revenue stream with just one ad type. It's not impossible, of course. I'm not saying there's always depends on your app and your users, but I'm talking generally general advice here. So definitely consider and see if other ad formats that you're not using right now could fit in your apps. So I'm just going to present really quickly because we could talk for a long time about each format. But I'm just going to introduce the main ad format out there and the advantages and also maybe difficulties to implement them and just a pro tip that I can give you from my experience. So the first one, if you can just pass the next slide, is the banner ads that you can see just right here. So banner ads can be at the top of the banner or the bottom, sorry, of the app. It's one of the most used ad format that I can see. It's really easy to put in your app. It's not intrusive because it's not full screen. However, the main issue that I can see and that most people see, especially games that you know, they really put a lot of importance in the UI and like how it looks overall. A banner can look, you know, can be kind of off and like can be intrusive in the way that it impacts the display. So I would say for those persons that not sure exactly if it fits and it's going to look good, you don't need to show it on every screen. So for example, if you have a game and it's a type of game where you have to, you know, use your fingers on the whole screen, and so the banner would definitely be an issue there. Just think, okay, would it be, maybe it would work in the settings menu or just in a general menu. Maybe if you have some kind of like artifacts or like items that you use in your game, maybe in that screen you could show banner without any issue. So just really remember, you don't need to show it everywhere, only where it will fit perfectly in your app. Next, we're going to move to native. So native is growing a lot. It's another. So can you move to the next slide? It's another non-intrusive ad format. Probably the least intrusive ad format out there if it's implemented correctly, because it's supposed to look, that's why it's called native, it's supposed to look as part of the UI, as part of the display. So that's why it's you should definitely look into it. The thing is that, yeah, it's not always easy to implement, and it doesn't work in every app. What a pro tip I could give is that if you have any kind of feed, this is definitely the ad type that you want, because as an example, Instagram, use native, right? You have all the posts, and within those posts, you have some advertisements that look exactly the same. So you still always have to signal that it's an advertisement, because you don't want people to click on it just by accident. But it's fairly solo. It doesn't impact much the user experience. So really great ad format for that. Next, we're going to move on to the full screen ads. So the first one is interstitial. So interstitial can be static or video. So we have static that can be skipped right away. And then we have video that can be skipped after 5 seconds only. So they both offer a really great eCPM, and they can work, we'll say, in most apps. I think after banner ads, I would say it's the most popular ad type. But it can impact the user experience, because it's a full screen ad. It's basically for 1 second to 5 seconds, the user is not interacting with the app itself. And so, they give their whole attention to it. So it can definitely impact the user experience. So what you need to do is to make sure that you put it in nurturing resting place of your app. So an example is if you have a type of game, and after the level 1, especially if it's an arcade game and the user has to be really focused and it's difficult, it can be really seen as like almost like a good thing to see an ad when the level is done, and finally you can take a break, breathe before going to the next level. So in this case, you could see that the ad is not seen at all as intrusive. It's more even the opposite. It's actually liked by the user. So try to find in your app where would be a good time to give a break to a user, and that would probably the best place to put interstitial. And finally, reality video. So reality video has the best eCPM. It's a 30 seconds non-skippable ad. So that's why it's so well paid, because advertisers love them. If you can actually show their product for 30 seconds to users, actually they love it, because they have a really great return. But the thing is that it requires a bit more work. And also, what's interesting here is that even though it's a long ad, it's a full screen ad, it can actually improve the retention and the engagement. So why? It's because of the reward, right? The user opts in, choose to watch the ad. And so in this case, there's like really little chance that he's going to actually choose to watch the ad and be mad about it. He would be mad about it if the reward is not interesting to him. So really look for what is valuable in your app. There's more things to say about Ready Video. It's a really interesting ad format, but we already did a webinar, a full webinar on it last week. So we have the link on our blog. You can find the video, and I would encourage you to watch it to see all the advice that we gave on it last week. Finally, I'll talk about segment and A/B testing. Like Natalie was saying, analyze is really important. So what is segment? Segment, in the way that I'm going to talk about it here, is a tool. It's a tool allowing you to separate your user in different parts, also called segments, right? So a really interesting tool. A lot of analytics systems use segments, like Google Analytics, for example, allowing you to see what's the difference of behavior and action from let's say, younger user. Usually it's like something used a lot, it's like between 25 years old and like 50 years old, what differences? So those two will be segments. So what's interesting, what I'm talking about segment is because of A/B testing. It's also possible to segment user just randomly within a user base. Either it's all your user and you just decide to divide them by two, like a 50-50, or you can even do that on only part of your user and divide it in two segments. Like you take your US user, divide it in two, and then apply something on it. So A/B testing, if we can move to the next slide, A/B testing is a methodology. So it's used to test the impact of a new strategy. So what you do is that you take 50%, you divide your user base in two, you have 50%, 50%, and then you apply one parameter. So it can be, for example, an ad placement. You can, for example, put the interstitial app launch on 50% of user, and after one level is completed for the other 50% of your user. And I like you can look at the metrics and see, okay, which placement is bringing me more money as the best outcome, and also which one my user prefer and actually is not impacting much the retention rate. So it's a really great tool a methodology to check basically what's best for your user, for your app, because once again, everything is different. Your users are definitely different than someone else's, and so you need to make sure that your strategy apply the best to your user and you test it. Really important for A/B testing, only one parameter needs to change between the two segments. That's really the most important advice I can give you. If you change, for example, if you want to see, like I was saying, interstitial placement, you cannot test one placement on, let's say, US user and the other placement on Japanese user and test it, because then you don't know if you have more clicks, for example, you don't know if it's because of the placements or if it's because of the users. And maybe generally Japanese user click more on ads that American user, for example. So in this case, you'll come back to zero. You don't know which one is the best. So always change just one thing, and like that you can compare perfectly. And last thing, know what you're testing. So formulate hypothesis before testing. If you're like, I think that Japanese user click more than US user, for example, it's fine, but you need to think about it before. You need to know what you're going to be tested and what metrics you're going to look at also. Really important. So it's really effective. You don't waste your time, and you don't basically have a real strategy in testing your monetization.
Thank you, Gaetan. And our next resolution will be presented by Jonas, and this is, I will monetize like a boss. So what we mean by this is we will use a mediation. Why this is important? I'm just going to do a little bit of a few sentence introductory to this resolution and explain why we included it, and then Jonas will take over. So a few days ago, we were contacted by, my friend of mine contacted me and was asking me, what is the fill rate for Amazon apps in certain networks? So so he was using he was using 3 networks for interstitials, and the fill rate was really, really poor for all 3 networks. Although all 3 networks support Amazon ads, Amazon App Store ads. And the fill rate was not good. All 3 of them combined was not good. He had gone through a lot of trouble to integrate all of these ad networks, and the fill rate was less than 10%. So the advice I gave to my friend was, and the person obviously was not the client of Appodeal, and the advice I gave was just integrate a mediation, because mediation has the automatic access to all of those networks that will automatically include all of the ads to fill, the appropriate ads to fill, and serve the highest profitable, if it's a good mediation, will serve the highest profitable ad for you. So you don't even have to do much. You just basically can focus on analytics or user segmentation or on new game development and stuff like that. So do consider using a mediation. And Jonas, now it's back to you.
Great. Yeah, and like you say, when you are an app developer or a monetization manager or a manager of an app in general, you have to wear a lot of different hats, and or you like to control what's happening with your apps. But sometimes just the part of monetization can take up more time than actually caring for your app. And that's why we advocate for using a monetization. And monetization, like a boss, it's more being confident and knowing the right questions to ask. So that's what we mean by that, but also having a little bit more of a shock value to it. So how can you monetize like a boss? Then you should ask the right questions and make sure that you understand the solution that you're using, if you're using a solution in-house or a third-party solution or any other type of ad monetization solution. So first off, how many networks does your solution support? Here we go into the example that Natalie was explaining earlier. If you only have a few networks, the fill rate won't be that high. So one of the advantages of using a mediation service, or Appodeal in particular, is that we have over 60 demand sources. So the fill rate is always pretty high. Let's say you have if you're only running with AdMob and they're paying you a good eCPM, if you don't get a good fill rate, you're not going to get any money on the back end. So also, can the solution tap into as many networks as possible, whether it's DSPs or networks? Can it also support direct deals? Because sometimes you have a publisher or an advertiser that comes up to you and asks, we're really interested in your users. Is there somehow we can set up a direct deal to ensure that our ads are showing in front of your users? So it's also important to see what the solution supports, because it takes a lot of effort to follow up with SDK updates or things that are breaking and stuff like that. So it's also important to know how much time it takes to support that solution. Then you also need to understand what the solution does. Is it using the latest technology? So during this year, there have actually been a lot of advancements with monetization and ad mediation networks. So we've gone from the traditional waterfall where we ask different networks prices based on historical data. We've also moved forward from inserting price floors in each network to now having parallel bidding, or server-based auctions. So there we send out bids to multiple publishers and determine who will win an auction based on probability. And this is based on first priced instead of the previous where we did second priced auctions. So it's also important to know what type of technology each solution uses. And the third point is, how transparent is your solution? Most of the ad networks, unlike Appodeal, were born out of networks, meaning that they have their own demand. So one of the little dirty secrets in the ad industry is that they usually put their demand first. That might not always be the most beneficial. It might not always get the best fill rates or the best pay for that. So it's also important to know, do you have your own demand, or where do you put that in the waterfall if you're using a mixed or a traditional waterfall? And then you also need to know, is this solution a good fit for your app? Or maybe you're spending a terrible amount of time fixing your ad solution instead of focusing on your app. Or are most of your users based in Southeast Asia, but this ad monetization is not good in that particular area. Also, do they provide reports on how well they're doing in terms of fill rates and eCPMs and so? And through reports, you can see and determine if this is the right solution for you. Now more and more the industry is also moving to having specific roles at each company for monetization of apps and stuff like that. And then users tend to like to have more control. So are you able to take full control of your monetization stack? Are you able to change individual placements and bids depending on countries? Because some countries, or that's why we have price wars, because sometimes you are able to, optimize your solution instead of what a traditional system does, because you know your users and your user base. Are you also able to set up different placements in your app to make sure that you're not serving the same type of ad everywhere? Maybe there's better places to put video interstitials versus static interstitials in certain parts of your apps. And like Gaitan was going over, are you able to perform A/B tests using different tools and stuff like that? So monetization is like a boss. It's just asking the right questions and understand the ins and outs of your solution and be confident and making sure that you're getting the most bang for your advertising space.
Thank you so much, Jonas. So it's back to me now, and we actually are done with our slides, and this has been a pleasure to present to you today, guys. And thank you so much for our lovely attendees that did attend, no matter what. And even though it's a holiday season and everybody is busy with shopping for gifts and doing the preparation and cleaning the house and everything like that, you still took time and invested in your business by attending this webinar. So we really are grateful for you to come. And to those that didn't have time to show up, it's also fine. We will actually be following up with the recording of this webinar. So if your friends registered but could not make it, we will send out those recordings along with the slides. So unless anybody have anything else to add, I think we are going to wrap it up. And thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for presenting. Thank you so much for preparing this information, Gaitan, Jonas. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much, Gergana, for helping, for assisting. And guys, we will see you on our next webinars, but I will promise you that it will not be till 2019. So go ahead and have a great new year, have great holidays, rest up, get a lot of energy, and let's meet in 2019 right here. It probably will be next webinar will be probably in some Thursday of January at 10 o'clock in the morning of PST as usual. All right, guys. So thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great evening, day, morning.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.